Hello and welcome to Dateline Lagos on Channels Television. I'm Ayotunde Balugum. Coming up on the program, Lagos State Material Testing Laboratory holds annual conference. State government plans to adopt building code. Lagos Traffic Radio marks 10th anniversary and Lagos hosts first National Transport Technology Conference and exhibition. We kick off the show with the issue of construction rules. The Lagos State government says total conformity to laws guiding the building sector is a major factor in addressing the socio-economic impact of building collapses in the state. The Deputy Governor of Lagos, Kadri Hamzat, made this comment at the second annual stakeholders conference organized by the State Materials Testing Laboratory at GRA in Ikeja. He calls for attitudinal change that will bring an end to substandard building materials that endanger lives and property. Take a look.
Deputy Governor of Lagos State.
The Deputy Governor of Lagos State, Kadri Hamzat, makes his way to the venue of the second conference of the Lagos State Material Testing Laboratory at GRA Ikeja.
Because of its peculiarity.
Once again, the Lagos State government is meeting property developers and other stakeholders in the construction industry in order to address the growing trend. The State Material Testing Laboratory, which is responsible for testing construction materials, calls for strict adherence to building guidelines.
In view of our resolve to conform with the best global practice, we need to engage ourselves to reality of times and avoid undue risk of health and safety of citizens across the state. In realizing our set standard of maintaining decorum within the sector, I will implore you to partner with us as to deliver on this administration themes agenda procedures as mandated by the Executive Governor of Lagos State. We are going to enforce and mitigate on the environmental risks associated with the collapse of buildings in the state. As part of our new initiatives, benchmarking with other global civil infrastructure standards, we are committed to our flow of engagement with our stakeholders for a robust and more pragmatic solution to the negative effects of all the shortfalls within the building and civil engineering sector with our new operational initiative to restrict contraventions of the law guiding the Lagos State Material Testing Laboratory.
Getting rid of quacks in the building sector is also reiterated by the Secretary to the Panel Committee on the Ikoyi building collapse.
My plea to the government is, I know that there are a lot of things jostling for your interest. There are a lot of things jostling for the limited resources. But let us try our best possible to prioritize those actors that are dealing with lives of people, because there's no price that we can pay to life.
So my admonition to materials testing and Lagos State as a whole, especially the agencies in the built industry, let us start a campaign where you tell the consumers, you go on social media, you go on TV, and tell them, for those of you buying off-plan properties, you are structuring your payment, that's fine. But part of the thing is to structure as part of your payment is, before I pay you the last tranche of your payment, you have to give me your certificate of completion, right? And fitness for habitation. Post the Ikoyi building collapse, I as a lawyer, now when I'm doing property acquisition for my clients, we structure the payment, but what I always tell them is that the last tranche of payment is contingent on two things. One, you have to show me your building approval. Two, you have to show me your certificate of completion.
Meanwhile, the Deputy Governor of Lagos, Kadri Hamzat, announces the establishment of additional material testing laboratories in other parts of the state.
So let me also disclose that on our part as a government, we have invested resources in improving the capacity of the material testing laboratory to effectively and efficiently discharge its responsibility as prescribed by relevant laws of the state. Part of the effort is to reposition the agency by acquiring more capital investment and specialized equipment so that we can also improve their reach by giving them operational vehicles and so on. The ongoing expansion drive, such as the establishment of a new laboratory at Okokomaiko on the Badagry axis, which will be operational so which will open operational by third quarter of this year. So what that does is to allow them to expand to different parts of the state so that in order to also improve the capacity.
Solutions that will address the negative effects of shortfalls within the building and civil engineering sector have been highlighted at this conference, with the hope that practitioners will continue to abide to the laid down rules.
Still on construction guidelines. Well, this time the Lagos State government has announced its plan to activate a building code for the metropolis in 6 months' time. This is according to the State Commissioner for Physical Planning and Urban Development, Idris Salako, who made this known during a media parley in Lagos. It says the move to domesticate the National Building Code for the state is to regulate building and minimize collapses of structures in Lagos.
In 2018, the federal government released a national building code to regulate the building sector with the aim of safeguarding lives and property in the country. Considering the rate at which real estate projects and other construction works are springing up in Lagos, the state government is also taking steps to adopt a building code that will be suitable for the nation's commercial nerve center. The Ministry of Physical Planning and Urban Development is creating awareness through this media parley to inform the public about its domestication.
The Lagos Building Code, which will be the logical consequence of the domestication of the national codes, is intended to supply the missing link in the existing regulatory framework by providing the much-needed focus on performance standards for building in the state as opposed to design standards. As a performance-based building code, the Lagos Building Code covers aspects such as structural stability, durability, protection from fire, access, moisture control, energy control, and services and facilities. The Building Code, when operational, will afford us the opportunity to address the peculiarities of the state and its different localities with building performance standards, while minimizing cost of untold disasters from flooding, collapse, and fire outbreaks, for instance. Gentlemen of the press, as beneficial as the Building Code is, compliance remains a house without proper and adequate information sharing. As experienced pen pushers and committed citizens, the onus is on all of you to take as a cost the enlightenment of the public on the letters and spirits of the Building Code. All said, we shall be counting on your support to popularize the journey through the domestication of the National Building Code, the launch of the Lagos Building Code as another model for the country and actual operations of the code.
The initiative is also geared towards curbing the frequency of building collapse.
What we use right now are the British standards and sometimes the American standard as well. A lot of professionals are trained using a lot of these codes of practices. So for us in Lagos State, in Nigeria, there's already a national building code, and the activation of that will assist us because we need to be specific as to the peculiarities of Lagos State. Because of that, the implementation plan that we are going to adopt, we're going to have a lot of workshops, gatherings, committees with professional bodies that will then result in the development of a code for Lagos State. What we're trying to achieve is full transparency. So sometimes if your property is sealed, you will be able to actually go online and check why your property has been sealed. So these are some of the things that we're trying to achieve. Once we complete the domestication of the building code, some of the specifications that are in the code, most especially even the Building Energy Efficiency Code, which we're working with the Nigerian Energy Support Program, will already be in the system. So when you submit your application, it's almost going to be like you are applying for a visa to travel or something. The system will respond to you to say, you know, you've submitted these documents, you are missing certain documents, kindly submit the rest of the documents, and you yourself will know why your application is being delayed.
The Nigerian Energy Support Program said it's ready to work with the Lagos State government to actualize the building code.
We are going to incorporate energy efficiency aspects, green building aspects into the National Building Code that will become Lagos State Building Code. or whatever name it's going to be called. So it's going to be now looked at holistically for Lagos State, capturing soil. I think somebody mentioned something about soil testing, the engineering aspect, the architectural design aspect. Every aspect that concerns a building will be captured, including the integration of the Building Energy Efficiency Code, so capturing energy efficiency measures for the building. Now, this is where the Nigerian Energy Support Program, or NESP for short, comes in. We're not stopping our support. We're not stopping the work on the BEC adoption. What we're doing is integrating it, because at state level, the idea is either a state will adopt the BEC on its own as a standalone document, or they will adopt it and integrate it into their existing building regulations. As I mentioned, Plateau State adopted it on its own. Lagos State is going to integrate it into its existing building regulations, which would be the Lagos State Building Code, or whatever name it would go by.
This is expected to be adopted within the next 6 months.
You see, based on our timeline, we have a schedule of activities we will carry on, and we hope by in the next 6 months, the building code for Lagos should be ready for use. We will be looking at various sections of the National Building Code, because it's not only the ministry that will be sitting down to do that. We'll be talking to various professionals, various professional bodies, everybody in the built environment, and so that we can get ideas from them, and where it's very necessary, taking into consideration the peculiarities and the topography of Lagos and the situations of Lagos, characteristics of Lagos, we adopt appropriately.
It's hoped that the activation of a building code will go a long way in minimizing irregularities in the building sector.
From building rules to transportation, the Lagos Traffic Radio has marked a decade of traffic reportage to residents of the state. Now, the Minister of Works and Housing, Mr. Babatunde Fashola, who conceived the birth of the station during his administration as the Governor of Lagos State, says the Lagos Traffic Radio is dedicated to giving information about the situation of the roads to enable people plan their journey in a city like Lagos, and has performed credibly in carrying out its role so far.
May 2012, the former Governor of Lagos State and the serving Minister for Works and Housing, Mr. Babatunde Fashola, created the Lagos Traffic Radio to report travel advisory to millions of residents over the airwaves. 10 years down the line, the Lagos Traffic Radio is still standing strong, driving social change for commuters.
So everybody knows that.
The station is marking its 10-year anniversary, and this colloquium is centered around the sustenance of an integrated transport system as a lifeline for economic growth.
The station was established to provide qualitative service to a teeming audience, of which its reach was initially within Lagos metropolis, but now boasts of a coverage area which include neighboring states. Lagos Traffic Radio is a specialized radio station designed to address the chaotic traffic situation within Lagos, also addressing issues woven around transportation, safety, and security. Until the birth of Lagos Traffic Radio, nothing, not even years of living here in Lagos, adequately ever prepared motorists for a complete standstill in the middle of the road. In the past, people sometimes doze off in traffic, wake up 30 minutes later, still on the same spot, with no clue as to the cause of the gridlock. The foremost traffic and transportation radio station in the whole of Africa in the last 10 years has no doubt become a household name among commuters and motorists, who mostly depend on it for first-hand information on traffic situation across the metropolis.
The visionary leader of Lagos Traffic Radio, Mr. Babatunde Fashola, is represented by his special advisor on communications, Hakeem Bello.
As a seat sown in 2012, early in the second tenure of my team and I, Lagos Traffic Radio has in the last 10 years taken some giant strides which have enabled it to accomplish the major objectives of its establishment. And the achievements are indeed many. We've seen the documentary and we've also listened to those who spoke earlier. The major one, of course, is that it has become a public service information center for commuters in Lagos, helping them plan their journey with the aid of advanced information about the traffic situation in different parts of the state. This, to me, is an achievement worthy of celebrating. It just goes to show the capacity and tenacity of the Nigerian to excel in every area of human endeavor. Lagos State is now within reach of connecting the dots that will enable the seamless integration of the various components of its transport network. Projects like the Osborne Ferry Terminal, Mile 2 Ferry Terminal, the Lagos Blue Line, and the expansion of the BRT route, all of which Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu committed to, are the last pieces of the jigsaw to integrate Lagos transport. I recommend that the government challenges the State Ministry of Education, of course, in collaboration with the Ministry of Transportation, to introduce traffic education into the school curriculum drawn from the Highway Code and the traffic law for primary, secondary, and tertiary schools, in order to raise knowledgeable drivers that will obey traffic laws.
Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu's speech is presented by the State Commissioner for Information and Strategy, and it highlights initiatives to be introduced by the Lagos Traffic Radio.
It is worthy of mentioning that Lagos Traffic Radio is not all about giving real-time traffic advice. It has also done remarkably well in enlightening and educating the people about topical issues, including government programs and activities, through the regular programs here daily, such as Side Mirror, and opinions which have continued to help as feedback mechanism for government to take prompt action as and when necessary. Indeed, this occasion is auspicious and a celebration of a decade of excellence in the service of the people using the power of the media. Undoubtedly, the city of Lagos has grown to become the busiest in the country on account of the boy-journey population and given its status as the nation's commercial nerve center. Indeed, the teeming population has made it imperative for us to develop a transportation system that will serve only the current population, but also future projected population. No doubt, the cumulative efforts of successive administrations, particularly since the advent of the Fourth Republic in 1999, has given the transport sector a lift from what obtained in the past. This administration has improved on the efforts of its predecessors in providing long-term solutions to challenges of our transport system. This administration will not relent in giving you the support you require to achieve regular efficiency and effectiveness in serving the good people of Lagos State and the nation at large.
And the State Commissioner for Transportation reaffirms the ministry's commitment to implementing an integrated multi-modal transportation system in the state.
Lagos is looking at various ways in which we can move people. That's why we're constructing the rail. That's why we're revamping water transportation. That's why we are reforming the bus sector so that the bus sector would have 3 tiers. That's the bus rapid transit, which would traverse your expressway, the feeder routes, which will be on your collector roads, and then the first and last mile, which will go into the community and then bring people out onto your road. But the question remains, how do we integrate them in such a way that it becomes attractive to people like myself to leave our cars at home and then begin to use public transport? And that's why we have to look at integrations in 5 dimensions. 5 dimensions of which information is one of them. And I'll talk about the 5, I'll just mention them and then we'll then begin to ponder over how we can get this done. So the first one is the fact that we need to look at location integration, and that's why it's important that transport planners work with land use planners to ensure that you build your transport infrastructure close to where people live, and people can then travel, less distance.
General Manager of the station applauds the support from other agencies to the cause of the radio station.
One thing that is going for us is that we need to be creative. I think being creative will propel us even to add more value to the negotiations that we are serving. And one of the ways that we'll be doing that is that we'll be leveraging technology once again by ensuring that we'll bring the road down to the studio. How do we do that? We tend to leverage the cameras that are being built, that are being installed on major roads, whereby the live feed on the ongoings on the road will be seen directly in the studio through technology. And by doing that, we can be giving more real-time traffic information that will be seamless. And that will really help Lagosians to even plan more as they move on throughout their journey in Lagos. All I want to we call them our stakeholders, they should continue doing those selfless work that they are doing for Lagosians. Because they do work for like 11 hours a day, and they should just keep on doing that. Apart from last month officials, we have trace people from Ogun State, FRS too, they are part of us, and even volunteers. In fact, they're the ones that you should give kudos to, because they were using their hard-earned money to give information to the station and station to the commuters.
The event was rounded off with an awards presentation to stakeholders who played significant roles in accomplishing the major objectives of the Lagos Traffic Radio.
Finally on the program, the Lagos State Government hosted the first edition of the National Transport Technology Conference and Exhibition. The event focused on the emerging trends in the global transportation space, feasible ways to implement and domesticate evolving trends into the sector for state and national economic growth.
Greener transportation is visible.
It's the maiden edition of the National Transport Technology Conference and Exhibition at the Eco Hotel and Suites, Victoria Island, Lagos. Stakeholders in the transportation sector across the country are present at this event, organized by the National Transport Commissioners Forum in partnership with the Lagos State Ministry of Transportation.
Therefore, gathered here in this hall today,
the host commissioner in Lagos sets the tone for the discussion.
The National Transport Commissioners Forum, under the umbrella and support of the Federal Ministry of Transportation, has deemed it fit to organize this maiden edition conference themed multimodality and interconnectivity, achieving an efficient and greener transport system in Nigeria, in order to create an avenue that will avail all states of the Federation an opportunity to discuss and dissect topical issues affecting the Nigerian transport industries while proffering solutions with the mind and intention of aligning methodologies and processes for enhanced efficiencies and effectiveness.
Chairman of the Nigerian Transportation Forum speaks on the need for the nation to explore emerging trends in the global transportation space.
The transportation sector has only scratched the surface of the rapidly emerging technologies which could enhance the primary objective of safety and security, as well as revenue generation at both state and federal levels.
Meanwhile, the keynote speaker, Professor Iyolaoni, says government must invest in rail and water transportation systems to reduce the workload on the roads.
We need massive investment, but recently we see that the government has been pumping in so much money on the rail system. New efforts to link Nigeria with neighboring states by rail is there. The massive investment in intra and intercity rail service.
Reducing traffic on the roads is also a major concern for the federal government.
The current administration is investing heavily in the construction of railways, roads, seaports, inland container depots, to facilitate the actualization of its agenda in the transportation sector. There is also a focus on linking the various modes of available transportation to strengthening the intermodal movement of freight and passengers, which would improve the safety, convenience, travel time, and cost of transportation.
There's no way we want to talk about transportation in Nigeria today without talking about intermodal. And that is why this is very, very apt. Intermodal transportation system, interconnectivity, multimodality, that is the way forward. A case like of Lagos and other coastal states that have the riverine, they have the rail, and the solution to the transportation problem of Nigeria is the maximum utilization of the modal transportation systems.
In Lagos State, the government says modes of transportation will be synchronized with the use of technology innovation that will save time.
In keeping with our tradition of excellence, I have approved the establishment of the Inland Waterways Monitoring and Data Management Center, WMDMC, the first of its kind in West Africa. The center, when completed, will be able to track the waterways activities in terms of safety and security of lives and property.
Stakeholders here are in agreement that a new transport policy is needed to achieve an efficient and greener transport system in Nigeria.
That's the program for this week. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. Until we come your way again next time, please stay safe. Bye-bye now.